Welcome back, everyone. I am very excited for this next powerhouse session, financial literacy and funding. When it comes to financing, many female entrepreneurs hit a wall. So this panel is going to speak to that and more. I invite all of you to join me on this virtual stage, put your camera on, and a couple quick reminders. We are going to try and leave time at the end for audience Q&A, so please throw your questions in there. I'm going to turn it over to Miriam Warren, Yelp's Chief Diversity Officer, for this intimate fireside chat. Miriam, over to you.
Thank you so much, Ali. So excited to be here with all of you today. I have two incredible women that will be telling us a little bit more about funding sources, about the ways in which women business owners all over can think about lending and can think about finance. So without further ado, I'd love to introduce you to Alethia Mendez, the VP of Operations at Grameen America, and Urrutia, who is the CEO of Opportunity Fund. By way of introduction, I would love for both of you to start with, we know that the majority of funding sources that women business owners rely on our personal savings, for maybe family and friend loans, and we know that those aren't the only options, and would love to hear for folks who may not be as acquainted with Grameen America or Opportunity Fund about some of the micro lending and other work that your organizations do to support female business owners. So, Alethia, I would love to start with you.
Sure. Good morning or afternoon for all. Thank you for having me here. At Grameen America, we're a frontline. We're at the front line of poverty alleviation in the United States. We provide microloans to low-income women entrepreneurs to launch or expand a small business. We serve women entrepreneurs who have been excluded from the mainstream financial system with limited opportunities, and those loans start at about $2,000 or less, and require her to be a part of what we call the Grameen group of 5 and become a member of that group. For those low-income women who would otherwise not have access to capital, our microloans would ensure that those members are able to invest in a new business or a growing business. In contrast to traditional loans, we do not require our members to have collateral or credit histories, and through our group lending model, we emphasize a social contract that helps each member be accountable to the other 4 in her group. And that's kind of the source and the magic of how we're able to support each of these women, but also how they can support each other and not follow kind of those traditional images or traditional factors for keeping people together and ensuring that they will manage their loan appropriately. Every week of the year, our members have a touchpoint meeting with our staff and their fellow peers. And these regular meetings enable our members to receive support from one another and ongoing training and building trust in the community and a circle of like-minded women. So with this kind of life-changing access to loan capital, as we like to believe, women can invest in their businesses and build their own financial identities and develop those communities that they call home. And after successfully completing each loan repayment, members can then increase their loan size with subsequent loans. We're in 23, we have 23 branches across 15 cities here in the United States. And over our about 13-year tenure, we've served about 134,000 low-income women entrepreneurs. We invested about $1.8 billion in small businesses.
That is incredible to hear. Thank you so much, Alethia. Over to you, Luz. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing at Opportunity Fund.
Sure, thank you. Good morning, everyone. Our organization, Acción Opportunity Fund, we've been around for 25 years, and we're 100% committed to driving economic mobility by providing responsible loans, technical assistance, coaching, support networks to help people of color, women, and immigrant communities that generally are being left behind and have been left behind by the mainstream financial system. About 90% of the clients that we serve are people of color, women, and immigrant-owned businesses. Our loans are anywhere between $2,600. So we start where Alethia ends, $2,600 all the way up to $200,000. And, we also employ a very different approach to our underwriting and our lending than you would find at, banks or traditional sources. Certainly, we want to get to know the business owner. We focus a lot on what we call moral collateral, understanding who the business owner is. Do they understand the business they're running? How is the business doing? We today lend to individuals that have been in their business for about a year. On an annual basis, we see, 600,000 entrepreneurs coming to us to access our resources online, our library, with a variety of information that business owners find very valuable, because it's about capital and lending, but it's also about the ancillary financial coaching, business advising, and support networks that really combined can have tremendous impact. We are a nationwide organization. We do lending in 46 states. Our home market is California, but we do equipment financing, mobile food truck financing, working capital financing, and our customers, our success, our model, business model is driven on the business having successful results. And so we spend a lot of time with our customers, helping them understand the importance of accessing credit, the information that they need, how to get there if they're not totally there. We understand vividly that talent is equally distributed. Unfortunately, opportunity is not. And so we, in our model, are envisioning a world in which all women entrepreneurs and communities have an opportunity to make their dreams come true. And we think that now, given the crisis that we have just gone through, our ability to connect one-to-one with our customers and be there and available to help support them as they rebuild and regenerate our mainstream economy is extremely crucial.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you on the crucialness of this moment, and so many people that need this kind of help. One of the things that we're hearing about is that business owners are really overwhelmed, whether it's PPP, state loan programs. What advice do you have for business owners to understand what type of homework they need to do right now, what kinds of loans they should be applying for, or even understanding the qualifications? Where would you recommend we begin on that? And Luz, I'll give you the first crack at it, and Alethia, then over to you on other suggestions around the same question.
Yeah, so I think that there's a couple of things. First, businesses need to do homework on two parts when they're looking for credit. The first is what type of credit is right for them. And second is who are they accessing the credit from? Because not all types of credit and not all lenders are created equal. And so while there are many affordable loans available, it's really important to fully evaluate all the lending options. What is the total cost of the loan, the return that loan is going to have on the business, before you take the loan. And so you want to get yourself and your business affairs in as much order as possible, so that when you speak with a lender, all the things that he or she needs to hear to make up their mind about whether this is a loan they want to make. And I would say, when I think about what are the questions, right, that lenders would ask, the first is, how much money do you need? It's not how much do you want, but how much do you need? And so showing the lender that you've given thought to this question, is really, really important. Then the next question is, what does your credit profile look like, right? Depending on the lender that you choose, they may both pull your individual credit score and your business credit score. And so if you've got, blemish in either one of them, they're going to want to know why and ask more questions. Another important is, how will you use the money, right? Is the money to build your business? Is it because you need to buy a truck, a piece of equipment, invest in working capital, pay employees? And you need to be able to explain how that loan is going to help you to continue to earn revenue. Because the next question is going to be, how are you going to repay the loan? And we all answer the question very simply, well, with my business. And of course, that's true, but a lender really needs more assurance than that. And they want to be able to see that the revenue's there. If revenue's not there, do you have savings? Do you have any backup? They're going to want to look at, your tax returns in some cases, perhaps your bank account statements, because they want to make sure, especially responsible lenders, that they're giving you a loan that you can pay back. The best loan made is one that can be paid back. And if the business gets in trouble, as we've seen in the last 12 months, that the lender can work with you. You have good relationship with them so that, they can restructure the loan, extend the payments, and give you the flexibility that you need. The other thing that I would really encourage you is to make sure every time you understand who that lender is. There are lots of lenders, banks, merchant cash advances, fintechs, community development financial institutions, and there are pros and cons of each. And so do your homework. Make sure that this lender is a responsible lender, that they're disclosing the terms of the loan fully to you. I am going to direct your attention to a place called the Small Business Borrower Bill of Rights. And that is sort of an excellent place to start. You can learn about what are the 6 criteria that when you're looking for a lender, you need to ask these questions of them in order to ensure that that's the direction you want to go in.
Incredible advice, Luz. So many, and I know that people are probably currently looking up that small business owner Bill of Rights just right now. Alethia, over to you on the same question. Are there additional items around homework and ways that folks can evaluate which kinds of loans they might want to partake in, whether it's PPP or state loan programs or others?
Absolutely. Luz has described an amazing wealth of resources. And I also would say and encourage everybody around the idea about doing their homework. It's doing your homework for the type of lender that you want to, that you're thinking about, or what may suit your needs. But I'll also say that there's a little bit of homework on what your position is currently, and thinking about how that aligns with where you want to be and what what resource you may want to access. So what do I mean by that? You have an opportunity, and I think it's an area where many women in business may fall short in, is really taking the opportunity to understand what your credit history is now. Do it today, do it tomorrow, but don't wait until you feel like you have the perfect business plan. Don't feel like you have to wait until after you've had conversations or you know who you want to speak to in terms of that lending. You don't even have to wait until you know how much money you think you may need. Do it now, because part of your credit history, particularly here in the United States, as we all know, it is your financial identity. And that identity and what your credit score is, where your credit score is, what your credit history shows, really, is that kind of report card that we can all remember from school that says, hey, this is a candidate or a student who's an A plus and is worth taking the next step with, or this is a needs improvement student. And that's not to discourage anybody, but more just to point out what your opportunity is in terms of understanding that credit and using the tools that are available to do so. So the credit history and credit score area, it is like a black hole. It's quite confusing. And you don't realize how many free resources there really are that are out there. You have the opportunity to check your credit reports, for free. Once a year from each of the credit bureau agencies. You have an opportunity to look at not only the score, but look at what are the lines of credit or, your bills, your utilities that are going against that, and are they reflecting accurately? These are all of the things that sometimes we don't really associate with going and opening a business or starting my activity, but there are absolutely things that a lender is going to look at and they're going to consider in your process, at some point in your process, whether it's an input to determining what types of credit and what amount of credit can be given to you, or whether, like at Grameen America, it's an output and used as an educational tool. But in all cases, this would be where I would say start now as your homework in preparing for what your journey will be with lenders.
That's great advice and excellent homework for those who are listening in right now. Switching gears a little bit to COVID-19, obviously this pandemic has tested the resiliency of so many of us. And interestingly, a recent Yelp report suggested that women-owned businesses were actually more resilient than the average business. Would love to hear from you. How have things changed as a result of the pandemic from your perspective? How have women pivoted and what has that response been? I'll push that over to you, Luz.
So in general, women are just more resilient regardless, period. That's just my opinion.
Can't disagree with that. Can't disagree with that at all.
So I think that women really in this pandemic have experienced, I'd say, about three major challenges, right? First, the industries where most women operate are disproportionately affected by the recession. As a matter of fact, it's called now the she-cession, right? Which is very unfortunate. Women are more likely to run many of the youngest, smallest, most vulnerable businesses. And with schools closed and elderly family members under threat, women are more likely to have to juggle primary caregiving and homemaking, while they are scrambling to save their own businesses, right? And so, the prospects are daunting, right? And the options for women are limited. However, the solutions to what I see as these gender-linked challenges for women entrepreneurs may include both, having to take some action on the cost-cutting side and also pivoting to capture new business opportunities that have been presented by the crisis. As I like to say, don't let a good crisis go to waste. And I think we've seen that across the spectrum. We did a survey of our borrowers at the end of last year. And while 4 out of 5 said that the pandemic, severely impacted their business, with most reporting reduced or zero revenue, 8 in 10 expected their financial situation to improve and keep their businesses open long term. And a lot of those respondents were women, right?
That's
and so
awesome.
While research on women entrepreneurs who pivot their business models to take advantage of these opportunities that have been created by COVID are only just emerging, I've heard hundreds of stories of talented women who are responding to the challenges of COVID in very creative and unique ways. I think there's a company out there called Skida, as an example. They were making these colorful limited edition hats and headbands and neck warmers for skiing out of Vermont, and founded by this wonderful woman back in 2008. And, she and her team of 12 women and like 2 or 3 men realized that the opportunity that was presented by the pandemic to pivot their business model from winter skiing gear to protective face coverings was great. And so they were not only selling it online, but they were actually growing to hospitals and centers that masks were needed. And so now they've created this amazing business. They've innovated. It was sort of a discovery-driven business model, which generally the dynamic of that kind of research implies that many of the constraints that are currently a limited factor for us to do something different is what really brings out what other resources and how can we change, whether it's with a product, whether it's with a delivery or a customer. They've completely changed the look and feel. It's colorful. Now they're using it masks and they're selling them to healthcare workers, restaurant employees, and others. So, there's a lot of creativity that's coming out as we're seeing it, which frankly is incredibly inspiring.
Yeah, it definitely speaks to sort of the idea that necessity is the mother of invention. Sounds like up in Vermont and probably in a lot of other places really taking that on. Alethia, we heard a little bit from Luz on the side of how women business owners are pivoting and using their creativity. What has it felt like on the organization side? What are some of the changes that maybe Grameen America has undergone throughout this pandemic?
Absolutely. I mean, on the organization side for Grameen, one of the things that we are always front and focused on is about meeting our members where they are and being able to support their particular needs, obviously on the access to capital, but also, with the height of this pandemic and amid this pandemic going on, the multitude of needs that came up, such as, basic, simple needs. Food insecurity was a huge thing that came up, during our surveys of our women, which is a struggle, because it's, hearing about that for them and their families, for us, ended up pointing us to the direction of needing to ensure that we were connecting with organizations and partners that, not just in one city or one community, but across the country in the various cities that we're in, would connect them directly to the sources for food pantries, the sources for, just places where they could access that in their dire time of need. The other thing is that, at Grameen, one of the things we were very conscious of, right, as being a lending organization, is that, during COVID, your loan is probably not the, it's not the primary, area of focus. And for the struggles that were happening economically, it becomes quite difficult when all cities were shut down, and people's businesses that might have been street vendors or beauty salons, which were hit the hardest, or restaurants and food catering and events are all closed, where that source of income is going to come from to continue paying that loan. So for Grameen, we really had to become very flexible and ensure that we were able to provide longer tenors for those loans, that we were able to provide, for a period of time, we completely went to zero interest, so that there wasn't an added cost onto what these individuals, what these women were dealing with, just to kind of soften the responsibility towards their loan. But in addition to that, Grameen America is it's a in-person, 100% in-person high touch model. And so when we would meet with our members weekly, that was always in person, in community. And so to go from serving, these thousands of women in person every week to then not being able to do so required a drastic shift and pivot for Grameen to completely change our operations model to virtual. And with that, also making sure that we could ensure that the tools that we were going to use were actually usable and user-friendly for our members when it came to things like connecting, so that we wouldn't lose that touch point, or when it came to their repayments using digital repayment options and the like. So all of these things were part of the big pivot organizationally, just as our members are also having to pivot and work through their business models and take on more digital savvy applications and things, just to be able to keep running their business.
That's so many different things to be taking on all at once. A reminder to everyone who's tuning in: if you have questions for Luz, if you have questions for Alethia, please go ahead and put them into the Q&A, and we will try to get those answered. One of the things that we know is that women business owners still face greater obstacles in obtaining financing, as opposed to similarly situated men. Luz, can you talk to us about some of the common barriers that women see when trying to access capital?
Absolutely. Unfortunate, too many barriers. So, women entrepreneurship has long been underfunded and undersupported, and I don't think that's a secret to anybody. Despite 40% of the nation's businesses now being owned by women, a lot of studies have shown that women have really faced longstanding structural inequities when it comes to accessing capital for business formation, whether it's equity or loans, and really for no other reason than their double X chromosome. I mean, I don't know how other way to put it. If you look at how much capital women receive, they get 4% of all the loan dollars that are lent by banks. And they get 2.2% of venture capital, right? And when women do manage to get funding, they receive 50% less than their male counterparts, And there's reasons for this, right? The world of venture capital and banking is insular and predominantly white and male. And so because it's human nature to gravitate to what is familiar, that means that when it comes to investing, businesses that are geared for women or frankly, other minority communities are often not valued or not understood. And so because they've had fewer opportunities to receive loans, women tend to have thin credit files, going back to Alicia's comments earlier, and lower credit scores than men, which then creates a significant barrier that must be overcome to obtain a loan, right? And so, we as practitioners and in the industry need to continue to advocate, lobby, and practice so that we can develop a much more inclusive financial system that recognizes and addresses the challenges that women face establishing their credit scores so that they can get the loans that they need for entrepreneurship. Alicia, I like the expression, I say that a credit score in this country is like the American passport, right, to the financial system. And, I think that the way to overcome that, are a variety of options that we can talk about. But, women are definitely at a disadvantage when accessing credit.
Absolutely. And I think, it's a kudos to both of you, because I know that you're working every day and your organizations are working very much to break down a lot of these systemic barriers. We have a question from Jessamine, one of our attendees. We know financial stability work is only the beginning of the continuum. What strategies do you employ with clients to focus on true asset and wealth building beyond what may be the initial stability piece? Alethia, do you want to take that one?
Sure. Yes, I can't agree with her more. Asset building is really actually the important pathway to building, your own wealth for yourself and your family. And that begins with financial literacy. You have to understand, what is going on with your financial identity. Whether you even have one or not, because sometimes people don't realize that they're, as we like to say, credit invisible. But financial literacy is so critical to empowering women entrepreneurs and helping them really push forward to understanding and becoming educated on what the tools are and what they need. In terms of asset building at Grameen, along with it's actually one of our pillars, our core pillars, along with our micro lending program, we will partner with national, regional, or local banks to actually, firstly, ensure that our women entrepreneurs can have an actual savings account, in which a secure and safe savings account. And I'll say that I say safe and secure because every savings account is slightly different, and the fees that might be associated to it based on what actions you do or don't do with that account have an impact. So understanding even what the bank's product is very important. Again, part of financial literacy. But as a part of that as a part of our asset building strategy, having giving them an opportunity to access a fee-free savings account is step one. And then secondly, our focus is about building the culture and the habit of saving. So we start out by saying it's not about how much you save, but it's just about being able to establish that continuous habit and process of doing so. Start with $2. I remember, I'll just share a story that when I started working at Grameen, about 13 years ago, and I started at the field level working directly with women entrepreneurs. That year, I remember I started the job and found myself probably without any money in my savings account. Maybe I had, $10 or $15. I hadn't saved anything. And as I was teaching the women entrepreneurs about just this process of saving $2 a week, because during our weekly touch point, we're able to check in, on did you make your savings deposit this week? I found that if I followed that same process that I was teaching and advocating for, that then at the end of the year, I had $100, and it's just something as simple as that can make the world of a difference, because once you build that habit and that muscle of doing so, then of course, $2 becomes $10, becomes $50. And what you start to afford, you actually start to build your own reserve and pool that really can serve you for anything up to and including your business. And it's so very important because along with our business, we've faced COVID and it was a crisis like no other. but there are always, as I say, storms that come around and come their way. And being able to ensure that resilience and pushing through it looks like having and building your own safety net. And that's what asset building is about.
Definitely. We've got another question coming in and we are running out of time. So we'll take this one and then we'll start to wrap up. The attendee says, I don't think I could get a bank loan because I can barely show a profit. Any suggestions? Luz?
Yeah. One of the things that I was going to suggest, and I think it's important, there are organizations, Grameen is one, we're another one. It's called Community Development Financial Institutions. Okay. And CDFIs are lending organizations that are community-based, that are focused on working with minority populations, women, low income, to provide capital in ways that are different than what you might have been used to going to a bank or a lender that is just looking for your credit score. It's looking for you to be in business for 3 years, to have, a profit and loss statement showing profits every year. It's looking for a lot of traditional sources of documentation and credit information, whereas community development financial institutions are much more flexible in the way that they look at the business, and they look at the whole person. So, we look at the character, right? And the moral collateral. We look at your business plan. How long have you been in business? How much experience do you have? We look at your cash flow. We look at your tax returns. We look at your, whether or not you have collateral. If you don't, that's okay. Unsecured lending is something that, CDFIs do that most traditional lenders and banks don't do. So I would encourage you, where would you find a community development financial institution in your region? Go to the Opportunity Finance Network, OFN website. You put in your zip code, and it's going to show you all the CDFIs that are in your market. Pick up the phone, call them, and start to build a relationship with lenders. As Alethia was saying earlier, the time to build a relationship with an organization that's going to lend you money is not when you need the loan. It's getting ready and taking the steps necessary that are going to get you there. So that would be my word of advice to you.
Liz, something I'd love for you to speak to, and Alethia, please jump in here too if you also have ideas. What are some of the common mistakes or missteps that you see women make when they're applying for loans?
Well, the first one is that we don't ask for enough money, but we generally don't ask for enough of
anywhere,
we need, right?
Yeah.
Anywhere, right? So
that sounds like life advice, Liz, not just loan advice.
Yes, making sure that sort of what I said earlier, right? Making sure that you know exactly what you need, and if you don't know exactly what you need, talk about the needs that you have, and let that trusted partner lender share with you how to get there and how can they help you. And the other thing that's really important is networking. Networking is something that we take for granted or don't spend a whole lot of time doing it, but it's incredibly important to build the right kind of social capital, right? People that are within your trusted circles, or people that have been where you are, that have expertise in certain areas, mentors that can help you where you need help. And, I am a firm believer that women need to surround themselves with people that will bring them along and that will lift them up. And in some cases, those can be women. And in some cases, frankly, they can be men. But they need to be your trusted advisors that can help you and that can give you that burst of confidence that's within you, but it just needs to come and shine and be shown.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would just add to Luz, and that at Grameen, we are definitely about the network, hence the group lending model. But I would also just add that it is key to also talk about who you are and what you're doing. And as women, I feel that, we tend to get into the support framework and supporting others. And so we very easily will talk about, our friend or someone we know, or recommend a service. But remember that as women entrepreneurs, you are that service. You are, you have a product, and it's worth hearing about, and it's worth telling, and you'll never know who your next customer is going to be. So speak up, don't be afraid, believe in yourself. You've already taken the hard step. It is hard to be an entrepreneur, and it's hard to be a woman. So between the two things, you have demonstrated so much resilience and capability that you've already gotten through that. The next step is just to speak up and share who you are and what you're doing, because people will see that, they will feel that, and they will want to be a part of it. So I just wanted to add that as well.
Oh, that's such a great addition, Alethia. I think all of us need to hear that, business owners or not, but definitely business owners. It is hard to be a woman, and it is hard to be an entrepreneur. We have another attendee question, which is, what are your favorite financial tips for a small business?
Stay close to your customers. I think that has been a challenge, right, in this environment that we've lived in for the last year, where businesses all of a sudden had to shut down. It's like, oh wow, what do we do? And one of the things is, if you have email addresses and phone numbers, just continue to reach to your customers, keep them updated where you are, what are you doing. In some cases, even use gift cards that they can use at a later date when you are fully back opening. But keeping close to your customers is really, really important.
Alethia, any financial tips you want to share with folks?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that it's important to just make sure that you are, Lou said, remain close to your customers. I would also say keep your ear close to the ground, and understanding that may be in a virtual environment now and not a physical one, but keep your ear, and keep on the pulse of what's happening, because it's through that information that you may find a new channel or a new opportunity in which to drive your business or expand your business. Again, COVID has shown us, and we've seen through so many of the women entrepreneurs that we serve, how they've pivoted, and the things that would not have been a part of their regular business model have now become. The tailor and the person who doesn't sew at all for their business now became one, and it opened up a new stream because people needed masks. That was a new opportunity that came for a skill that you might have, not necessarily that's part of your business model. So keep your ear close to the ground, know what's going on, see what's happening, and look for those opportunities. They may not present themselves in the shape or form that you think they do, and they may not manifest themselves in exactly what your business is, but there's always an opportunity to create a new stream.
Definitely. We have about 2.5 minutes left. And the point that I'd love to end on is kind of networking and support systems. So any advice for women entrepreneurs out there listening for how they can build the right network, support systems for their business, anything in sort of that realm? Luce, I will hand it to you.
Yeah. One of the things that I was going to say is there are right now a lot of resources to access financial and network coaching. So, whether, like, for example, California launched a big loan program, the California Rebuilding Fund, the New York Forward Fund, Illinois launched a fund. There is a new fund coming, Southern Opportunity and Resilience Fund, in 15 states in the Southeast and up into the Mid-Atlantic. And these are all providing, very, very low cost loans to women, people of color, immigrants, rural businesses that are underserved, that were left out of PPP. And so I would encourage everyone to access those resources that are available, because more than likely in each of your home states, there is one. A way to build network is sign up for different classes, webinars, coaching sessions for technical assistance, again, through CDFIs and local organizations. There's an organization called Micro Mentor, and we partner with them as an example in a range of topics, including marketing, business planning, legal, finance, HR, more. And so I think that accessing those centers that have other folks that are going to be having some of the same questions and challenges that you're having is the best way, to work with and relate to others that can provide great advice, not to mention the partners delivering those sessions. So that would be my advice.
Great advice, Luz. Alethia, maybe we could end on this final note. Any books or podcasts that you would suggest to folks as they're going away and wanting to do their homework, as it were?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, that's a good one. I'm trying to think now of some good podcasts that I've heard. I mean, I focused and heard about. There's one called Clever Girl, which actually, she's has a range of I guess income generating activities that she does, but she actually targets her podcast on and focuses on the financial aspect of just kind of manage and build up your business. And then the other aspect that she focuses on is around marketing of that business and being, as a woman, always remembering to promote yourself. So Clever Girl is the podcast that comes to mind.
Awesome. Clever Girl sounds wonderful. I think I'm going to tune into her. Luz, Alethia, thank you so much for spending time with us today. Such great advice. I wish we had an hour and a half to talk, or maybe even more. I'm going to hand it back to Ali. Again, thank you so much for everyone who tuned in, and Luz and Alethia, a special thank you to you for spending this time with us.